take a gun off of the officer. He did take a gun off the officer's holster and attempt murder on four officers
And where did this happen?
in the Bronx in New York on Katona Avenue.
Okay, and what year?
Uh, I want to say 2011.
2011. And so he was asleep at a friend's house, and the officers came into the house. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir.
And then what happened from there?
Um, I believe I was in Syracuse, so to my understanding, when they proceeded to enter the home, they woke him up. He did put his hands up as I guess they were attempting to arrest him. They stated that he took the gun off the holster, out the holster, and pointed it towards the officers, stating that they had to take him alive or he was going to murder them. There was a lot of things going on at that time, and they did get him down, and he's been in jail ever since.
So wait. So the allegation is that he took the gun from an officer and pointed it at four other
At
officers,
four officers.
and he survived.
He survived. Yes,
How is
he
that
did.
possible?
Sir, I'm trying to find that out myself. I don't believe in myself.
Okay. And so at some point, he was taken in and he was abused some kind of what
Yes,
happened?
they beat him. They beat him. I guess for resisting and fighting back. So he was really badly bruised. They took him to the ER. Uh, they never presented a gun for evidence that he pulled a gun. And he stayed in the precinct, I think, for about 2 days.
Okay. And then at some point, did he get to see a judge? What happened with the case?
He went to Rikers Island after being processed. They indicted him. They took him to Rikers Island. He was on Rikers Island for about 2 years fighting the case. They offered him 6 to 12. He denied that. He said he wasn't going to take that because he didn't do anything. Um, then that's when he took it to trial, and he lost trial. And the lawyer, I didn't see that she was fighting with my son and for my son.
Hmm.
Um, they just did a lot of things. They never presented a gun. The medical examiner said there was no one injured with life-threatening injuries. They
Wait,
stated,
let's go back. So the medical examiner testified during the trial,
yes, sir.
and the medical examiner testified that none of the
No,
four
no
officers had
officers,
life-threatening injuries.
not one.
So how was it that he was convicted and sentenced to life if no one's life was threatened?
That's what I'm trying to find that out myself,
Okay,
Mr.
so
Griggs.
what was the testimony at the trial? Did the officers testify? Did he testify? I mean, what happened at the
He
trial?
never testified.
Okay.
He never testified at the trial. The officers just testified that he did take the gun off of his out of his holster. He threat they were fearing for their lives.
Hmm.
Um, that they were very scared, and he was acting crazy. But it's four officers there. Four.
And what precinct NYPD was this?
I really don't know. I know it was in the Bronx. So if it was the Bronx, who I can't tell you. This is I don't know what precinct because it was parole that went to get him.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
the parole.
And so currently now he's received a life sentence
Yes, sir.
and he's on appeal.
Yes.
Okay. So what is his message to the community? What is it that he wants us to do with regard to his case?
He's seeking justice of his freedom. The loopholes, and he needs to. He's trying to fight back to get his life and his freedom. He's never touched a gun. There's been no murder. He never attempt murder on anyone. He wants to fight for his freedom.
Okay. And so currently, is there a hashtag, a website, a way that people can get involved and engage to help pursue that issue for justice?
Yes, sir.
What's that?
It's called Justice for Jonathan Lee.
Hmm.
The number four. Justice number four for Jonathan Lee.
Okay. And where is he in the appeal process?
I know he's did a 40-40. It's been 14 months. They just keep
Oh
pushing
wow.
it.
Okay.
They have not responded in 14 months. So
O-
it's just sitting.
Okay. So the trial was in 2011,
Yep.
and then we're in 2019, and there has not been a new trial
No.
or
No.
appeal hearing or anything like that.
It's like every time he sets the papers, it's a pushback. They stated that they were going to transfer him. Pushback. They won't move him or do anything. When he first got there, it was hectic, and I was worried and scared because it's NYPD and he's going in Attica. He had a lot of problems. I had to call Albany numerous days. He said, "Mommy, Mom, they're gonna kill me." And I'm saying, the lady told me one day I called Albany. She said, "Well, look what he did." And I said, "Miss, you don't even know my son. You don't know my son."
Now, explain to the people, for those who don't live in New York, what is Attica?
Attica is a maximum correctional facility. It's up in Attica, New York. It's behind a brick wall.
And it's one of the most famous prisons in America.
Yes, yes it is.
Yeah. And so he's there. Has he had any fear of reprisals by corrections officers or
Yes.
anybody else? Has he had any issues while he's been there?
Yes. At the beginning, yes. And he's just being strong now. And I guess now he's been there now 8 going on 9 years. It's like, okay, he's become a part. So what he's doing, and he's staying out of trouble and doing what he needs to do, focusing.
Okay. And what made you want to reach out to me?
I see this, and my son watches you guys on TV every Wednesday. He watches these things, and he said, "Mommy, you have to reach out to these people. Somebody got to hear me, and it's time to be heard. Justice needs to be served, you know."
Okay. And so, kind of backtracking to the case a little bit, we want to break it down a little bit more so people can understand. So he was in somebody else's apartment,
Yes.
correct?
Empty apartment. They haven't even moved in.
And so there was no connection for him to the apartment.
Right.
So in the trial, did it ever come out how they knew to go to that apartment to look for him?
They stated that because he had put that down to be paroled to prior, so it was just the address on there.
Okay. And so they got there. The homeowner or the lessee opened the door.
No, there was we don't know who he was. He wasn't the landlord.
Oh.
The officer stated that they had a dangerous armed man in the apartment.
Okay. Let's back up for a moment. What was he on parole for?
A weapon charge.
Okay. And was there
And
any?
he did 4 years for that.
Okay, but was there any indication at this time when they were looking for him that he would have been armed?
No.
I mean, are New York laws similar to most other places where if you're convicted of a gun charge, you're prohibited from having a weapon?
Yes.
So there was no reason why he would have had a weapon.
Exactly.
Okay, so they come in.
Mhm.
Somebody lets him in.
Yes, sir.
They wake him up.
Mhm.
They summon the other people that were in there with
There
him.
was 2 other gentlemen, which one is deceased now. They ordered them to leave. They told them they were
So they
free to
left.
go. Mhm.
So at some point they interacted with them and saw they didn't have any weapons.
Mhm.
And they woke him up.
Right.
So at what point was he a threat to them?
I still every day to this day I sat in the trial and during the trial, and I try to still picture of where and why did all of this happen. If he wasn't resisting arrest, did you touch him, or did you charge him down, or did you say anything to provoke him? You understand? For anything like that, because one of the officers stated that he was unarmed. He had his hands up in the air. His pants were down.
So wait, let's unpack that. One of the officers said that he was compliant,
He was compliant with them.
and they still beat him.
Mhm.
So at what point was there the allegation that he got the gun? Was it before or after they started beating him?
This was I think in the midst of before.
Okay.
Before.
So if he was being compliant, how did he get the gun?
I still, sir, Mr. Griggs, I promise you, I try to figure this out every day. Like, it's so much. Like, for life sentence, you took this man's life. Where did he get a chance to get this gun? How did he get this gun? And it's 3 of you at the door. One goes behind him because the officer stated that one of the officers walked in, proceeded, and got behind him. So he's secured. He's in the square. How did he reach and get your gun and the officer behind you didn't do anything?
Okay. And so during the course of the trial, no gun was ever produced?
Not one time. No gun, no blood on the gun. There was never mention of a gun. but he's in jail. His charges is attempt murder of 4 officers.
with a non-existent gun.
Yes, sir.
Um, I'm sure in 2011 they weren't equipped with body worn cameras or any type of surveillance um, devices,
I don't know about it.
and nothing came into the trial about
None of that.
videos.
No body cams, nothing.
And so the officers testified, but were there any other witnesses to the alleged wielding of the gun and threatening them?
No.
All right. Did the lawyer for your son do any background into the history of these officers and whether or not they had any complaints or
No,
citizens' allegations?
She didn't.
Okay. And I'm sure you've spoken to your son on numerous occasions. He maintains that that didn't happen.
Exactly.
Did he indicate whether or not the lawyer thought it was in his best interest for him to take the stand or not take the stand?
He did say, Ma, she told me not to testify because he wanted to get on the stand. He wanted to be heard.
Okay.
She wouldn't.
And after the trial, did anybody get a chance to speak to the jurors to determine why they made their decision?
Actually, I wasn't there at the end because I had to go back to Syracuse to work. So
Okay.
my sons was there, but they didn't.
They didn't talk to him. All right. And so basically, you had the word of these 3 officers with no forensic evidence
None.
that your son wielded a non-existent gun and he was sentenced to life in prison.
Life. Now, we had some type of program when he got to Attica. Some students, I forgot the name of it, but they reached out to Jonathan.
Okay.
And they got something going on where I think they took off 15 years or gave back something, he's saying to me. I'm not too sure about that, but it's been from 40 now. It's supposed to be to 25 to life, but I don't
so
see no paperwork.
he had some type of, wait, so they didn't file anything, the judge didn't issue a modification order?
I don't see that. I look up on his, his DOC every day, to see if any changes because I want to know. There's no one even corresponding. If I do try to contact the lawyer that he has, I'll give you a call back. Well, I just did what I had to do. What do you mean? My son has children. He has a family. He came to a funeral to see the last time he saw his brother, he was a little boy. He had to see him in a casket. Are you serious? So he's going to see his mom in a casket?
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the background of his family.
Okay, he was born in the Bronx. And he went to school in the Bronx. He came and lived in Bentonville, South Carolina for a little while, and then he came back to New York with me. We always been together. He's the oldest out of 7 of my children. Jonathan was in trouble, as a teenager. He got himself in trouble, nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
He left home and he came back. Jonathan got in trouble and he went to jail. He did a year, Rikers Island, and came home, cried. Then he got in trouble again. That's with the gun charge. And he did the 4 years and he came home on parole,
Mm-hmm.
which I had already moved to Syracuse. He's a father of 2 children, which he made a child before, when he got out on parole. The child only seen her father once, and she's 8. He's a father of 2, a big brother of 6. We have 2. My family is very small besides me.
And so you outlined just 2 incidents where he ran afoul of the law. But aside from that, I mean, were those incidents violent in nature?
I want to say, it was never fight or resisting. He got caught with a gun, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So one gun charge,
Right.
and the other one was what?
Still in the car.
Okay,
Like
so
that.
a theft charge and
believe
a
so.
gun charge, but no violence, no aggravated
I
assault,
think
no
he
shooting
had
at people.
1 felony, a couple of misdemeanors, but prior to juvenile,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing real that I can say.
Okay.
He's only did 1 good time, and that was that 4 years that I know for that gun.
Okay. And so, what injuries did he sustain from the beating that he took from law enforcement?
His lip was busted. He had a gash in his head, which he still has that scar. Just bruises all over his body. I had pictures of the bloody clothes that he had on because he was full of blood.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me the pictures of his clothes. and stuff like that.
And during the course of the trial, was there an admission of photos of any injuries to the officers or anything like that?
Yes, it was one with the officer that got hit in the head with the object. Because I'm not gonna say gun. There was an object.
Okay. And what did those pictures look like if you saw them?
Just it could have been a baton.
So it's fair to say that the officer, because it was four
For
officers
them
on him,
beating him down.
beating him down, that the officers could have hit one of the other officers, because did they test the batons for any blood matter, or so there was just no forensics?
No forensics, no baton, no gun, no. I want to know how she got the gash in her head.
Hmm.
How did they not cross-examine it? Ask, well, what hit her in the head?
Wow.
I am assuming the baton, as y'all beating him, proceeding to beat him down. You know, she could have been down there with her knee holding him down, and she got hit.
All right. It's a lot to unpack in this case, and so he's currently on appeal.
Hmm.
Is there, aside from the hashtag, is there a website or any information out there on social media or on the internet that people can look into to try to assist him in getting an appeal?
Only thing that I'm working with now is the website. There's the Instagram page that we have,
And what's that
and
Instagram?
that's Justice, the number 4, Jonathan Lee.
Okay. Well, what I would like to do is, I know you brought me some of the information. Of course, I can't practice law in New York. I'm only licensed here in Georgia. But I would like to look at it and potentially help you get in contact with an attorney in New York, and also amplify this case, because of course we're on Cop Watch on BET, and we want to use that platform to get stories like yours and Jonathan's story out, so people can understand what's happening in real time. Because you know, as bad as it is for him, he is a lucky one
I know.
that he's still here.
I say it every day.
Yeah.
Every day, I just tell him to pray. I speak to my son every day. They say get off. He said, "Mom, I have to hang up the phone."
Yeah. If you think if people could speak to Jonathan, what do you think he would tell them?
Exactly everything that happened, everything I just spoke to you. He's going to tell you everything that happened.
All right. Well, we're going to try to amplify this story to make sure that he gets justice. Because what I'm confused about in this whole scenario is if he took an officer's gun and was wielding the gun would have been entered into evidence.
I think exhibit A.
Yeah, I mean
That's how I look at it.
that would have
I'm
been
not
the biggest.
a lawyer. I'm not an officer, but that would have been the first thing to something sticking. I believe that's why he was so positive with taking it to trial. He was
Mhm.
so confident in taking it to trial because I didn't touch no gun. And the whole time, like he does his homework. He's into the law library. He's telling the lawyer he's fired 2 or 3 lawyers during this whole case
Mhm.
because they're not understanding where he's coming from. So it's like, okay, you're taking their word, but I am the person here. You need to listen to what I'm telling you. Have someone go and check out the windows. Have someone do this. But he has me.
And you went to the scene,
Mhm.
so kind of detail the scene to us.
I mean, Katona Avenue in the Bronx is kind of rough, you know. So it's just like a brownstone building. The windows is never no side because the apartments are in.
Mhm.
So you got the front window and the straight through apartment in the window over there. You know what I mean? So some of them just have one window throughout the whole apartment. And
Mhm.
it was a 2-bedroom apartment, no furniture, little narrow little hallway. So they had to. It was a tight squeeze.
Mhm.
It was a tight. If y'all was at this door because he's right there at the door. Because one of the officers woke him up, brought him to the door. Is this Jonathan Lee? You flash a light. Yeah. Look at the picture. Look at Jonathan Lee.
Mm. And in the hallway, when you went down the hallway, were there other apartments adjacent or across from this apartment?
I think it was like 2 apartments on each floor.
Okay. Did they go talk to anybody else on that floor
No,
about what they heard or what they potentially could have seen?
no.
And of course,
They didn't do anything.
they didn't testify.
Nobody.
How long did the
No.
trial? How long did
2 days.
2 days?
2
Yeah.
days.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I'm like, I'm thinking a week, two
Hmm.
days.
And one of those days was picking a jury.
Hmm.
Okay.
Which all of them were related to close relatives of NYPD.
Well, how did they sit on the jury if this was a case
I don't
involving?
understand. I don't understand. My son told me, he said, Ma, all of them. And at the time, I guess his wife, she did more because I'm in Syracuse, so she
Hmm.
was doing the footwork. So she knew, like, she said all of them was part of NYPD. Their family relative is a part of NYPD somewhere down the line. And I'm like, are you serious? So how was that a fair trial? Did you not hear me out? Did you hear him?
And what was his lawyer's defense? If he didn't take the stand, what was the defense?
Um, he just said that she didn't really. I'm honest with you, that lady did not really speak. She just stated that Jonathan was at the apartment, his violation. He stated he didn't take the weapon. She did not defend my son really.
But how would she have gotten in the fact that he didn't take the weapon if he didn't take the stand?
She told him let her handle it.
I mean, I can understand why you may not want your client to testify, but my
And I
concern
never
is,
understand why was it not. Why did she not want you to speak? What was it that was going to incriminate you? That you were already being incriminated with that she didn't even correct. I don't understand that.
well, did she hire any experts who could have tested the, well, they couldn't test the gun because there was no gun, but could have talked about correct police procedure in bagging evidence and collecting evidence, which would have led to the fact that there was no gun or no
She
baton.
didn't.
Okay.
She didn't. Not to my understanding, she did not. She didn't hire anybody. I don't believe she went out there because Katona is not too far from 161st Street Courthouse.
Hmm.
So I don't even think she even rode around to see. She didn't hire anyone.
Did did she have an investigator to go take pictures
No,
for his defense or do anything?
no, she
Did
did
she
not.
pull his medical records to show his injuries during the course of this
She didn't
incident?
show anything. And I was there from day one.
All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. Like I said before, we want to get this information out to the community so we can help amplify his case. I'm going to take a look at the information you presented
Hmm.
with brought with you, and see what I can do as far as getting you in touch with an attorney up there that may be able to help and amplifying this through the platform that we've been blessed to have through BET.
Amen.
Um, any last words you want to share with the people about Jonathan, about this case, about the toll the case may be taking on him and the family, anything like that?
It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, as a mom, and your child is stripping from you from his freedom.
Hmm.
We can't touch him. We can't talk to him. And to see him, when I leave him from the visits to go back, it's hard. It's heartbreaking. So I enforce people to fight for justice for their family and their loved ones. Go be heard. Be heard. They deserve a chance.
And can you talk about the courage that it takes for families to speak out about these situations that are occurring around the country?
It's a lot. I've gotten shut down. If it's gotten overwhelmed, it's got discouraging. But you got to keep the fight. You got to stay strong because you will get a lot of doors closed in your face. And with from the time till now, I've been stirred so many directions. I've been let down. My hope's been high, but I still keep faith and keep going strong.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do what we can to see if we can help you. I do appreciate you coming on Justice Media to get his story out, and we're going to amplify his story.
And it's a blessing that you're here.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right.